Are you looking for the highest quality herbal supplements and remedies for your home apothecary? Or maybe you're looking to take your spellcraft, magical workings, or offerings to the next level. Whatever your reasons might be, we have hundreds of herbal spagyric items available, and every purchase supports our work and helps bring spagyria into the light of the modern world. Here at the Phoenix Aurelius Research Academy, we produce dozens and dozens of items of spagyric pharmacopoeia each year, even though we only need a few samples for our research purposes. So the remaining quantities are available to the public in our online spagyric apothecary. Only the highest quality natural, organic, biodynamic, and ethically wildcrafted materials go into our products, and every purchase you make helps fund our research. As an Alchemiculture podcast listener, you can get your hands on our professionally crafted small batch spagyric products for 15% off using coupon code LISTEN15. So go ahead and browse our enormous selection of products and get yourself something new or pick up one of your favorite products today. Visit phoenixaurelius.org/apothecary and enter coupon code LISTEN15 to take 15% off your entire order. And thanks in advance for supporting our research. Well, hi there, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this Alchemiculture episode. I am your host, Phoenix Aurelius, and today we are joined by Dr. Dirk Jacobsen from dentaldecoded.com and also a new product that he has released called toothterrain.com. I'm very excited to chat with him because his take on dentistry and dental health is a little bit different than what you're going to get from a lot of the mainstream doctors. And it's based and rooted just in common nutrition and lifestyle things that we can take control of more often than not. And it puts power back into our own hands in order to be able to have really good, solid dental advice from nutritional angles and from lifestyle and dental care angles and different types of things like this. So I'm extraordinarily excited to bring this on because the majority of clients that I work with have terrible teeth, and they have cavities all the time and have to get fillings and mercury fillings and composite fillings and all these other things, and that leads to problems, or root canals and all the other things. This leads to problems down the road as well, and usually those things are somewhat irreparable or very costly. So if we can prevent any of those things from this point moving onwards, then it can greatly enhance our life and the quality of our lives. And so I'm excited to bring this subject up and to make this available to a wider audience. So with that being said, welcome, Dr. Dirk Jacobsen, my dear friend. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm very well. Thank you, Phoenix, for having me. Great to be on your show. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. I absolutely love your work. In fact, maybe for some of our audience members who aren't familiar with your work in dentistry and with Dental Decoded, maybe you could go ahead and explain a little bit more about what you're doing and a little bit more about your background.
Okay, yeah, well, I've been into dentistry now for more than 30 years. I graduated in Hamburg in Germany in 1990, and I was working in Germany for 10 years. And then I met my wife, Laura, from Australia, and I immigrated to Australia and set my exams in Australia in 2001 to be also a certified dentist in Australia. So then we had dental surgeries in beautiful places in Australia, in Byron Bay and in Tasmania, both very beautiful places. But somehow we left Australia in the midst of COVID 2020, where Australia was a little bit of an awkward place to be. And somehow we were traveling the world for a couple of years in Mexico, and we spent some time in America. And we then came to the UK, and we decided to live here in the UK. And we've been here now for 2 years. I worked as a dentist here, but my main thing is also to bring also my experience to people who are looking for a second opinion in dentistry and who want to look at their dental health more from a holistic point of view. And I've got a website called dentaldecoded.com where I offer my service in video consultations. And so I see actually people from all over the world who look for answers in their dental health. They send me their x-rays and some intraoral pictures. And then we have a casual meeting from the comfort of their home. They sit on their sofa and it's relaxed. It's not like being at the dentist, so the whole scary atmosphere of the dental office is taken away, and we just have a chat, and they can offer their opinions. I can offer my opinions. We can go through alternatives with their teeth. I can give them some advice, and maybe they have a treatment offer from their dentist that might need a little bit of adjusting here and there to get it maybe to up to scratch what the client really feels like he's comfortable or she is comfortable with. So that's what I'm doing. And then we've got this fantastic product, Phoenix, that we together developed, which is called Tooth Terrain, which is an alternative mouth serum where you had your impact in it, major impact. You created this wonderful product that we've been now selling for about 6 months, and we've got excellent feedback. I clinically supervised some of my patients, and the results have been quite promising, amazing, quite frankly. So that's what I'm doing at the moment.
So yeah, well, and thank you so much for bringing up Tooth Terrain, actually, because I wanted to segment into that. Yeah, Tooth Terrain is a new product that you released. You contacted me. You heard it. Didn't you hear about me through Dr. Kaufman?
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah.
So I knew about you from Dr. Kaufman, and the reason why I approached you is because we were really, I was actually for a long time, I was looking for a product, in a dental care product that was not aligning so much with the conventional products that are out there, and even the alternative products that are out there were not really satisfactory for me, because I felt like they're not really addressing the real issue to see healing from the inside out. They were all addressing still the symptoms of dental disease, and they were masking somehow just what was happening in the mouth. And I wanted a more holistic approach. And I knew of you from Andy Kaufman, and I thought, well, this is the guy that might be the right guy for us to create a wonderful holistic product that serves the mouth in a more holistic way. And that's where we are at. It's out there, and everybody seems to be happy.
I was just over the moon too when you reached out to me about this, because I get all sorts of different types of people saying, hey, will you formulate this product or that product or this product? And a lot of them are pretty basic and pretty general. And, it's things that we do in order to make, make ends meet over here at the facility. We have to take on all sorts of things that aren't really up our alley. But this was up my alley because I'm so, many people might have heard me mention this before, but I'm 37 now. Still never had a cavity or an oral issue. I'm going to knock on wood. Yeah, my parents do, so it's not great genetics. All my grandparents did. In fact, my maternal grandmother had all of her teeth removed by the time she was 14. They were so bad. So it's not that I have great genetics or the things run in my family. It's that I have always, probably accidentally from a young age, just had great nutrition and good digestive fire to be able to absorb that nutrition, wide variance of different home cooked foods that my mother provided myself and my brother with. So, the nutritional aspect is extremely important to me. But, like I said, I see all of these clients all the time who have had mercury fillings, and the amount of mercury that is present inside of oral fascial tissue, also that we're seeing inside of central nervous system tissue, that you see inside of respiratory tissue and traveled throughout the respiratory system into the bloodstream and deposited in other weird places. It's just astounding to me that this is still a practice that is even allowed to go on. But, I don't want to get too controversial about it, but it's just crazy to me because, you go in to fix one thing and you might get that tooth fixed, but then you have this collateral damage that can last for years. And I'm actually, based on the research that I'm doing now, I'm not so certain that composites are that much safer. It's just that instead of heavy metals, we are just volatilizing some sort of plastic toxicities, micro nanoplastics that break off, chip away, things like that. So yeah, it's just fascinating to me. And, it comes back to me, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So when you said, that you were into addressing this from a nutritional angle and all these things, I was just over the moon about it. So yeah, it was a fun product.
Yeah. Look, let me just get back to the amalgam and the mercury that you're mentioning. Yeah, it's a tragedy actually that this stuff is still being used today, and it's still justified as one of the best materials. And that, like the Dental Association worldwide and the American Dental Association, they claim that the amounts, they admit that small amounts of mercury get released from these fillings. However, it's nothing to really worry about. And then the other big organization, the WHO of all organizations, they claim that there's no amount of mercury that is safe. So even a minuscule amount that gets released is toxic to the human body and to the nerve cells, to the brain cells, right, and everything. Now, they don't go into that, but they claim nothing that is of mercury, not the smallest amount, is safe. So there are big organizations, and they are even contradicting each other. And we know now, I mean, apart from this organization, how toxic mercury is. And that's really a tragedy. And to removing it, it comes with other risks as well, because once you start to drill it out, see, mercury gets released in small amounts. The more you have, the more gets released. However, if you start mucking around with it, if you start drilling it out, that's the point where an explosive amount of mercury gets released, like in that instance, because the dental drill goes on it, and then heat develops. And with the heat, the mercury, the vapor gets released explosively. And that's the crucial moment, because in that instant, you have to breathe as a patient. So if you breathe in the stuff that gets released in that instant, then it gets absorbed by the lungs. 80% of what you breathe in of the mercury gets absorbed by the lungs, gets into the bloodstream, and then it gets distributed in the body immediately, instantly, and then you've got it. And then it's in your body, and there it does the damage. So if anyone wants to have the amalgam removed, it's very important that you have precautions in place. And actually, when we left our last clinic, when we set our last clinic in Hobart, Tasmania up, especially to do it in a very safe way, there's a smart protocol that is released by the International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology. So you have to have some measurements in place to protect the patient so that these things don't happen. So you use a rubber dam, you use masks. Actually, the dentist and the staff also wear gas masks, really, like they look a bit scary. Yeah. And protective gowns. And we had filter systems included when we constructed the surgery. We had filter systems included in the surgery for the wastewater, and we had extra kind of vacuum machines that were filtering out the mercury vapor that came off in the instant that we put the drill on the patient and stuff like that. I have videos on that. But you need to be careful. Otherwise, you cause more damage than originally was there. Because you release the mercury, and it only gets distributed within the body in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. I remember, my mom has been taking a look into getting her mercury fillings out for a long time now, and the prices of places that do it properly are usually really high because of that level of involvement that they have to have. There are people who will do it much less expensively, but they're not, for me, at a minimum, you have to ensure that I'm not, like you said, going to be breathing in all of those mercurial vapors, because it's going to vaporize the second that it starts to, friction from the drill starts to vaporize it. So, having a vacuum inside of the mouth near where the drill is in order to be able to help capture the vapors and different types of things like this, it's just so critical to ensure that it's done right. So yeah, that's good. And for those of you who are out there thinking, I've got to get this mercury out of my mouth. Yes, you do. But please, fools rush in, do your research, be able to find somebody who's really going to do it, because there are ways of being able to dislodge and help to chelate and remove mercury from your system on an ongoing basis safely. So it's not terrible for you to have.
Phoenix, Phoenix, I'm also a little bit more conservative these days in regards to should every amalgam filling be taken out? Because, see, I see patients, they are in their 80s and their 90s, they have their mouth full of amalgam. They had that for sometimes 40, 50 years. And they are kicking on quite all right. They don't have any neurological problems. And so just to have this dogmatic thinking like every amalgam filling needs to be removed because it's, so I'm a bit more conservative because there are so many risks involved and also costs. And also from a dental point of view, there are risks for the tooth because if you have a deep amalgam filling, that is close to the nerve. Every tooth has a nerve in its center. If the filling is close to the nerve, you might breach the nerve because it's only 0.5 millimeter away from the old filling. And then you need a root canal or the tooth has to come out. So all these things have to be really, really carefully evaluated. You need x-rays. You need to see how close is the filling to the nerve. Do I cause risks? Because sometimes it's unavoidable. You remove an old filling and suddenly the nerve is exposed and that's the end of the tooth. So all these things have to be taken into account.
Man, it's so amazing. Well, let's, so we've heard about a little bit about what the diagnostic approach has been to medicine. We get fillings if we get cavities typically. Let's talk about maybe some of the approaches to dental wellness that are more holistic and preventative. And in fact, where does tooth terrain even fit into that? And why is it preventative? How could it help our teeth, our dental wellness?
Okay, let's start with the nutrition thing. I mean, probably many of your audience know about Weston A. Price. Weston A. Price was a dentist who lived in the US 100 years ago, and he went out into the world and wanted to know what the secret of healthy people is, and especially healthy teeth, because he saw in his career, starting in the beginning of last century, that dental health was going downhill dramatically, and he wanted to know why is this happening? Why suddenly people decades ago were kind of all right with their mouths, and suddenly with the Industrial Revolution, things went downhill dramatically. So he went out to 14 different cultures. He went out to the Aborigines in Australia, to the Eskimos, to the people in the Andes, to people in the remote valleys of Switzerland, and was looking at and he went there at a time where things were changing dramatically. And it was the time where some family members were living the old traditional lifestyle, and other family members were often going to the nearby city, and they were exposed to the food of commerce. That's what Weston A. Price called it. So they were suddenly eating not the natural food anymore, but they were eating butter, they were eating jam and bread and all the sweet stuff that we are used to these days. And their health and their teeth, they declined dramatically within a few years. So so what's the secret about the good food and the bad food? And he came to the conclusion that some foods were containing ingredients that were making people strong, healthy, and their teeth healthy too. And he was looking for, what he found is that it was the fat-soluble vitamins that were causing people to be healthy. And a lack of fat-soluble vitamins was, and additionally the bad food was causing the decline in health and in dental health as well. And he was looking for one particular ingredient, which he called factor X. He didn't know activator X. He didn't really know what it was, but somehow in the 70s, 80s, they found out what it was, and it was vitamin K2, which was derived from animal fats and animal dairy products, from cows, for example, that were eating the grass in the growing season, because the grass in the growing seasons contains vitamin K1, and the cows were able to transfer that within their body into vitamin K2. So the products, the meat and the dairy products from those cows was containing vitamin K2. So it was not grain fat, but it was grass fat. Grains don't contain those vitamins. So it's important to have, if someone is trying to get good meat or good dairy, it has to be grass-fed, from grass-fed cows. So suddenly that mystery was solved. So that's the nutrition part of it. And of course, we know that all the toxic food that we get from the supermarket or whatever is detrimental to health. So tooth terrain comes into that because we were also looking, Phoenix, you and I, we were looking for something that we can integrate, which also is ingestible, so that people can ingest, from that point of view, these vitamins, vitamin D3 and vitamin K2, so that they get this nurturing from the inside out as well, not just topically. And it's important that those two vitamins, they come in a combination and they work synergistically, because we know that, for example, vitamin D3 is well researched, and we know that the absorption of calcium in the gut is somehow activated by the vitamin D3. But once we've got it in the body, the body often is deciding where does it go, and it does not really know where to put with the calcium, and it can really go into the wrong places. We know now it can go into soft tissue like the arteries, and it can clog up the arteries. And there has been research done that the arteries can clog up in a way where it can actually cause heart disease because of the clogged artery, because of the calcification. Now we need something that pulls it out of that puts the calcium in the right spots, like into the bones and into the teeth. And that is what vitamin K2 is doing. It activates some enzymes that are doing exactly that job, pulling it out of the soft tissues and putting it into the hard tissues like the teeth and the bones. So that is one ingredient of tooth terrain. But see, my idea was also, I was looking for something more alternative, because I was always a fan of traditional Chinese medicine. And I am not practicing this, but I've been always going to health practitioners, to acupuncturists and Chinese herbalists who were looking after my personal health. And I love that approach. And that's why I approached you, because there was always the mystery for me. What is Chinese medicine actually thinking about oral health, and how can we sustain oral health? How can we support oral health from the philosophy of traditional Chinese medicine? And what can we do about that? Is there anything that we can put in a mouth serum that will support these things? And that was the idea behind me contacting you. So that was the starting point.
Well, and that's really fun. I remember talking to you about that as well. You know, from the Chinese perspective, and I think this is very interesting, the majority of dental diseases come from a zangzu pattern of poor spleen qi. And basically, in all of the studies that I've done with IDF clients, where we have individuals where I've studied both their TCM diagnostics and I've studied their Western-based diagnostics, and come down to terms and terminology and different things that are not reading at IDF signatures that are normal, I'll take a look at those things and compare and contrast them. And every single time, when I see a spleen qi disorder, what I see in the Western system that goes along for that same person at the same time is low gastric acid production. And this usually has something to do with gastric chief cells. Sometimes it can also deal with gastric parietal cells, but intrinsic factor as a gastric secretion, or stomach acid, gastric acid as a stomach secretion, pepsinogen as a stomach secretion. Some of these different types of secretions are not getting triggered properly. And so what's interesting to me about this, and the nutritional angle and how this ties in, is that if you have poor spleen qi, poor stomach acid, then basically what that means is that you can't absorb the majority of the materials of the foods that you eat. You can be eating the most nutrient dense foods, but there's always going to be two factors that determine how well we can absorb that nutrition, which is first our stomach acid, or just gastric secretions in general, because intrinsic factor and pepsinogen are really important in that. But then we also have our microbiome, to our digestive microbiome. And if those two things aren't in place, we could be eating amazing foods, the highest quality foods, and still not getting the nutrition that we need. Same thing with supplements. You could be taking the highest quality supplements, But unless they bypass the entire digestive tract, either through an adhesive or an injection or through some sort of sublingual absorption, you are not going to be getting the types of nutrition that you need. So the Chinese angle lines up, and in Ayurveda and in TC or the Ayurvedic approach in India, they take a look at various dental problems by way of dosha, or by way of your constitution, the time of year, and how that changes, and diet, and all many different types of things can alter your doshas. But for instance, like vata dosha individuals who have excess vata dosha are going to have receding gum lines. They're going to have dry, cracked, brittle kind of gums and things like that. People who have kapha disorders are likely going to have more cavities. People who are pitta are likely going to have nerve pains and different types of things like that. So they can kind of break down what types of dental issues based on the dosha that is out of balance for the individual. But I think that it's really fascinating because the approach that we used with tooth terrain in its formulation, it actually does contain essential oils and herbal extracts that are able to enhance spleen C and to help spleen C, that are able to enhance digestive capacity inside of the body, and to be able to tonify gastric chief cells, parietal cells, other different cells of the entire upper digestive tract as well. And to keep the microbiome healthy and in place. So if there are excess fungi or excess archaea, or which are methanogens usually, and that's a big problem from the Chinese perspective, is that when you have poor stomach qi especially, but spleen qi as well, but poor stomach qi does this, at the bottom of the esophagus, there's a little sphincter there, and that sphincter, when it doesn't close properly, allows all sorts of vapors of stomach acid. If you have methanogens or archaea inside of your digestive microbiome, then you will have methane being released through this as well. People who have Helicobacter pylori infections, which is a very common bacterial infection, they will actually have ammonia type smells coming out of their system. And that is also a bacteria that is found concomitant with every case that we know of low gastric acid. So in the allopathic world at present, Helicobacter pylori is accused of creating an infection that attacks the gastric cells. I don't know if there's sufficient evidence for that, but that's the way that it's viewed. We do know that it is found concomitantly with low gastric acid. So whether it's there to try and help balance the system in the absence of gastric acid, or whether it's actually a culprit creating an infection, I don't know. But we do see those together. So all of the herbs that we have inside of there are helped to be there in order to address common bacterial imbalances. But it doesn't, like modern products do. And I remember, Dirk, you and I talked about this. We don't want to nuke the microbiome.
And that's the thing, even from the Western point of view. See, if you look at the approach of modern dentistry today, how do we tackle gum disease? How do we tackle tooth decay? Well, modern dentistry somehow aligns to the germ theory model, which means there are pathogens, there are bad bacteria, they are causing tooth decay and gum disease. And so what do we do with these bacteria? It's just like with a normal infection, like if you have a strep throat or whatever, you go to the doctor and he gives you antibiotics to kill the bad bacteria. And then the symptoms are addressed and maybe you are symptom-free or whatever. But with dental decay and gum disease, it's the same. So you see a dentist, you've got severe gum disease. What do they often do is then they clean teeth, but they give you antibiotics. So it's and toothpaste and mouthwash, they contain so many antibacterial products that are killing off the bacteria in your mouth to address the issue. But that's not the whole story, because there's a lot of collateral damage. Our oral microbiome consists of, now they come up with probably 770 different microorganisms that you have in your mouth. And they normally, in a healthy environment, they live nicely together. They keep each other in check. They all have their purpose. They all have their function. They clean the mouth. They get rid of toxic products. They are responsible for the first step of digesting the food. So they are all important. It's only if the terrain, if the environment gets out of balance, that some of these microorganisms, some of these bacteria, they take over, and they behave a bit like a bully. They push everyone else out of the way, and they multiply, and then they produce toxins, and then they acids, and then they attack teeth, or they hide into, they cause inflammation in the gums, and suddenly the gums, which are normally like a tight turtleneck around the teeth, but if they get swollen, a little bit inflammatory processes, then suddenly pockets form, and these bacteria, they then hide in deep pockets. They are anaerobic suddenly. They don't need oxygen anymore, and then they multiply, and then they sit in this kind of in a toxic microenvironment, and then nothing gets in there anymore. You can brush, but you don't get to the bacteria anymore. But it only happens when the balance of the oral microbiome is disturbed. And it gets, for example, disturbed if you put a toxic cocktail of mouthwash into your mouth. And it's not just that, because, see, the oral microbiome is closely related to all the other microbiomes of our body. Yes. Like, for example, the gut microbiome into our gut. They say 80% of the immune system sits in the gut, whatever. What that means is you swallow, and you've got what you swallow is you seed whatever is down the tract in the microbiome. So if your oral microbiome is completely disturbed because of toxic products, then you seed whatever is down the track with some sort of altered microbiome, which is not the original healthy one. So it's not just about your teeth and gums anymore. The starting point of your microbiome is the mouth, and if you mess that up, you mess up everything down the tract. Now, so that was the goal, to have a product that is nurturing the microbiome instead of indiscriminately killing everything off.
Yeah, and I remember when I chose the very particular botanicals to go into this, that was the goal, both in the amount that we provide, but in the science that was behind each and every essential oil.
Perhaps you've heard Phoenix speak about alchemy and spagyria, and you yourself want to start practicing? Phoenix has been engaged in more than 15 years of consistent split tests in order to find the most practical and standardized methods to create the highest quality items of spagyric pharmacopoeia possible. He provides the most detailed multimedia courses in existence, walking you through every aspect of spagyria, including beginning theory, setting up your lab, proper technique, important details on how to make a spagyric like a pro, tips for advanced practice, alchemical and hermetic applications, astrological theory, and so much more. In any of his online courses, you will be thoroughly guided through making your own items of spagyric pharmacopoeia, including spagyric tinctures, spagyric elixirs, spagyric essences, spagyric stones, and so much more. You will be able to set up your own laboratory in your home or business and craft up your very own alchemical apothecary in no time flat. To learn more about our online courses, simply visit www.phoenixaurelius.org/online courses and begin your spagyric journey today. And as an Alchemiculture podcast listener, you get to save 15% off the tuition of any course by entering the coupon code TEACHME15 at checkout. Again, that is coupon code TEACHME15, which will save you a whole 15% off any of Phoenix's online courses. As always, all proceeds go towards supporting this podcast and furthering our research.
Some people talk about saliva as the holy spit, and you probably have a lot to say about that from a Chinese medicine perspective. But even its knowledge now in the dental community, the benefits of saliva, because it's actually the first saliva provides the first step of the digesting of the food, because it contains enzyme that is digesting the food, and it lubricates the food. So without the lubrication of the food, you can't even swallow it. And it can, the saliva also transports all the minerals and the nutrients to the teeth, which are important for remineralization. We live in a constant process of demineralization of the tooth and remineralization. So we get minerals that are coming out of the tooth and getting into the tooth. And there needs to be a balance. And the saliva provides for that. So if we have a dry mouth, for example, we have a diminished remineralization process. So there's a lot going on with the saliva. It also balances the oral microbiome when we have healthy saliva, which is normally a little bit acidic, like between pH 6 and 7. So it's slightly acidic, which also prevents the buildup from dental plaque. It helps it. And it contains so many things, even that we can check out scientifically what's in there. Bicarbonate, for example. Bicarbonate penetrates plaque and neutralizes the plaque. So there's a lot. It's not for no reason called the holy spit. So that's saliva. And the beauty about the product that you developed, and this is the feedback that I get, is that, and this is also my personal experience and your experience, you tested it with your staff and your family, that once you take the product, even for quite a long time after you had the product and you swish it around, you still have some saliva flowing. It's still produced, and it's healthy saliva, and it supports your oral health, not just your oral health. But that's the wonderful thing about this product, that it activates the saliva flow in your mouth.
I mean, I love that part of it. But we have so many great botanicals that are in there, and they're designed to keep not only oral microbiome balanced, but stomach and duodenum microbiome elements all the way into the intestine, and to be able to be broken down gently. The amount that you would be consuming of any of the botanicals is so small that it's not going to be harmful to any beneficial bacteria whatsoever. But we have things like peppermint in there, which are very, very good for cooling down digestive fire, for expelling gas and flatulence, for taking care of a wide number of things in the system that are hot and inflammatory in the digestive tract. We have some things that are warming inside of there, like thyme, for instance, for people who have too much coldness in the digestive tract. So when I looked at this product from a formulation perspective, it was really, how can I get the entire body? What botanicals can I use? What products can I use that definitively just address the oral microbiome? And if it just ended there, that would be great. But how can I take a product that can go so much further and help to address these elements? And so going back to the saliva thing, I remember that we decided to include sea buckthorn oil in there because of the amount of phosphorus that it actually has. And that's one of the coolest ingredients too, because that's what gives that cool orange color to your product, right?
Yeah. It's quite intense. And the sea buckthorn is quite amazing, because also it somehow there's quite some research out that it helps with mouth ulcers. Many people suffer from mouth ulcers, and that's also my personal experience, because I had mouth ulcers for quite a while, but ever since I used that product, I don't have mouth ulcers anymore. So I attribute that also to the tooth terrain and the sea buckthorn oil, berry oil that's in there, which has wonderful properties and all the vitamins and that come from it. So that's I mean, it is so rich in vitamin A, which is, again, one of those fat soluble vitamins that Weston Price was talking about. And it's so rich in phosphorus and magnesium, and it has little bits of calcium in it, all of these other things. From a micronutrient perspective, my thing was, if you're taking this 1 to 3 times every day, and it's primarily an oral product, so you can swish it around, you could spit it out if you want, but it's designed, it's not like oil pulling. You're not, at this point, you've already brushed your teeth. You've probably already tongue scraped if you're doing that. You're getting, all of the gunk already out of your mouth.
this is a final product to help balance and restore the gums. Oh man, it's so nourishing to the gums too. When you take this product, like it really just, it feels nice, it emanates, the flavor is delightful. But yeah, it will help to just kind of balance the microbiome. But just like it helps with oral ulcers, sea buckthorn berry oil also has this, especially there's different grades of sea buckthorn berry oil. We use the very highest grade in the formulation of this product because it's critical that you have the highest amount of nutrients possible. And the more raw that you can get your oil, the more nutrient that you're going to have. There's all sorts of different levels of refining and, you know, so on and so forth. We use the most nutrient dense in the formulation of this product in order to be able to ensure that we have high levels of vitamin D3 and vitamin A, vitamin K2 inside of the product, all of those micronutrients, so that as you are consuming this product in little bits, it has an accumulative effect over time, and you start to get these micronutrients back that your body maybe doesn't have or isn't able to digest. So for instance, with the sea buckthorn berry, a lot of people have a poor mucosa of the stomach. Sea buckthorn berry has a ton of medical research behind it showing how it restores the mucosa of many different internal organs when you consume either the berry or the oil. We have the oil that has all of the pulp inside of it, so you're getting all of that nutrition, and that's going to help to restore stomach health as well. So not only just the botanicals from flavoring agents and essential oil components and things like that, but also down to the very oils, the quantities that we included them in. I mean, they're just designed to take care of so many nutritional aspects. Now, Dirk, it's my understanding that there's a lot of research now showing the importance of phosphorus in the production of saliva and how that phosphorus actually acts as an anti-carie forming kind of mechanism inside of oral health. Do you know much about that, or do you promote phosphorus? I think that was one of the Weston A price things, was right. You need to have healthy calcium, phosphorus, vitamin A, D, K, or you know, factor X or whatever, activator X, and there's one, and E. So does that fit into your dental practice much at all?
Yeah, well, it's very important. The phosphorus and the calcium are actually the building blocks of the teeth. So the more you can somehow give to people in a sense that they can accumulate it and that it ends up in the saliva, the better, because it somehow promotes the remineralization of the teeth. So phosphorus is great. And now, what I also would like to mention, what we haven't touched upon so far, Phoenix, is that it's ingestible. Our product is ingestible. So you get the product, which is unique. You don't find any products on the market that are ingestible because of the ingredients. So we've got food-grade ingredients in our product that are ingestible, that are accepted by the FDA and any other supervising body, so that it is ingestible. So you get from internal, you get the benefits as well as from the outside. And that's a unique kind of property with our, and it tastes really well, because, you know, the combination that you put of the essential oils in the amounts, they just work synergistically to get a really nice taste. And it's also the taste factor that contributes to the beauty of this product.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. Every day after, so my routine is to brush my teeth, then tongue scrape, and then do tooth terrain. And that's always my favorite part. I love the hour or so afterwards that my mouth just feels so clean and nice and rejuvenated after taking that product. And the flavor of it really is, for me, it's nostalgic, but I've never tasted anything that's hit exactly like that. It just tastes like, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it, but I really do enjoy it.
Yes, me too. And it's also the differentiation from other products. You know, they use essential oils, but they use it in such strong concentrations that actually, you know, it's almost like some of the alternative products, they are competing with the conventional products that are designed to be strong. maybe you remember the ad of Listerine many years ago, where someone was having mouthwash with Listerine, and suddenly they created this boom effect in the mouth.
Yeah.
And that's actually what it is. That it gives the association, well, everything is killed off, nothing can happen to my mouth anymore, but it's so wrong.
Yeah.
And essential oils often, the research that is out there is often, they align with that sort of philosophy. How can we put alternative essential oils into the product that are killing off the bacteria, just like Listerine is doing? And that's where the research is going, and so they put tea tree oil, which is very antibacterial, and they did the research. Is it comparing? There are comparison studies out there. Is it in comparison doing the same as, let's say, chlorhexidine or one of the chemicals that they use? And then they are happy that it's doing the same. But that's what we want to get away from, exactly that philosophy. And that's, I think, what we achieved very well.
Yeah, I think from a formulation perspective, the thing that I'm most pleased about, which doesn't happen with every formulation, was that regardless of the medicinal stance, whether I look at this from Ayurveda or TCM or Western allopathic medicine or more alternative terrain type theories, it's an effective product in the way that it's formulated. It works for all types. It's designed for every different constitution. It's not too heating. It's not too warming. It's not too cooling. It's not too drying. It's not too astringent. It's not too damp. It's not, it doesn't have any of it. It's very, very, very well balanced, and it works from all different angles. So yeah, I'm pleased as pie about it. And I think, I've been telling everybody since you sent me a product and said, hey, yeah, I thought you might like to see this, basically. I have been telling everybody about it, and I think that it's a product that I think belongs in every single person, maybe with the exception of a few folks who have some allergies to some of the ingredients. But aside from that, I think every other person who is not allergic to this or has no other contraindicated reasons for not taking it, this should be part of the oral routine. And you as a dentist, I'm sure that you would feel the same way, although you are biased.
Yeah, I'm a bit biased logically, but yes, I'm thrilled about the product. And look, the feedback, and I've supervised a few patients now, and we are at the point where people are reordering, so they are happy about it. And what I see, like I have patients who have a dry mouth, and dry mouth, we talked about saliva. Dry mouth can happen, for many reasons. Some people have Sjögren's syndrome, which is, when the salivary glands are not functioning, or they take medication that causes dry mouth, or some radiation therapy to the head because they've got cancer, for all sorts of reasons. And these people are really debilitated. It's not just about their dental health that is tanking. You see these poor people, they develop dental decay like in a rapid kind of manner because of the non-protecting function of the saliva anymore. So that's why it's so important to have the saliva going. And now this is the product. I just show it. You can see we put a lot of attention into the design as well, and we had a fabulous friend who was designing it for us. So that's the product. And now it's the festive season is coming up. And for your audience, we will have a discount if you order it through our website, toothterrain.com, www.toothterrain.com, and you put the Phoenix code in. There's a discount code for the rest of the year for the festive season. So and it's about 15% of deduction of the original price. So if you have friends, relatives, or you use it for yourself, you can order it through our website, and we would be delighted to sell this product to you, and I hope you will love it as much as we do producing it and using it.
Yeah, well, and this is really cool, guys. For those of you who don't know, the vast majority of my work over here is making some products for white label clients. That keeps us really busy. That usually keeps the lights on over here at the Research Academy. What we sell in the apothecary is fantastic, and that's really icing on the cake. But what keeps our doors open every single month is a lot of our white label clients. And for most products, I produce those in-house. For a product that was oil-based, I'm not set up to, hold and store 55 gallon barrels of oil and all the other things. So I told them, we're going to have to look at some other fulfillment, and these guys have taken it on. I think that deserves an enormous applause, because it's not easy, like you did, Dirk, to take something from an idea and go all the way through production with it, and to bring it to market the way that you have. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. You guys have put so much time and so much work into this. I am glad that people are responding to it with the type of energy and enthusiasm that you and I had when we were working on it and developing it together. It's an awesome product. Those of you who follow my monthly lab updates will know that I had been talking about this project and was like, oh, guys, I have this project. It's not ready for me to talk about yet, but I'm talking about it now. We've got Dirk here on the line with how awesome it has been. So, Dirk,
thank you. Well, let me just say something, Phoenix. Thank you so much for your kind words, and thank you so much for your help. It absolutely would. You're the only person that would be able to somehow knock it off and produce this product. And we are so thrilled to have you done it, and to have you on board with it, and to deliver this wonderful product. So thank you so much again.
You're very welcome.
It's been a pleasure. And you've been so responsive, and every time I contacted you, and your explanations, your emails were so descriptive and so long, and we were always thinking, wow, he's putting so much effort, he's really into it, and he's giving it so much attention, and it's just wonderful to work with you. Who wants to work with Phoenix, go ahead. He's making wonderful products.
That is really kind of you to say, Dirk. And for those of you at home, don't pass up this opportunity. Seriously, get some tooth terrain. This is me telling you at home, like, do this, do yourself a favor. You are going to enjoy this product. The 15% off offer goes basically until holidays. So, like, let's just say December 25th of this year. You can just enter in the coupon code Phoenix at toothterrain.com. We'll have all this information down in the description as well, so that you can access this. But definitely hop on the website, get yourself a bottle, let us know what you think. Now, Dirk, you had recently mentioned in an email, just kind of in passing, so I don't have all the details about this yet, that you had been going around and kind of talking to people about this, or giving some sort of presentation about this. What's kind of some of the feedback that you're getting about the product as you're doing that?
Yeah, very good. Excellent. People are thrilled. And we're selling a lot of products at these talks because people are curious. They want to know about it, and they are convinced. They when I explained a little bit what we were talking about today, they feel like, wow, that's excellent. That's what they want. Because see, my audience, when I give talks here in England, they are kind of, they are a little bit awake to what's going on in the world. So we get people who are a little bit critical about what's going on in the world, what's going on about the health system. And so they are open to, and they are curious. They want to know about things that are a bit alternative and not presented from mainstream media and from mainstream dentistry and from the medical system. And it's very encouraging, especially here in my experience in the southwest of England, how many people are interested in. See, I'm giving dental talks, although I'm coming more from a holistic perspective, but those talks are full, and I'm just like, I'm thrilled that people are listening to. I mean, of course, it's mostly about dental, how faces are developing, how, I'm talking a lot about of ancient people, how they have stronger jaws and better teeth, and how mouth breathing comes into it, and how it all starts from before birth, because we know now that, for example, even before in old cultures like the Maasai warriors, they have nutritional food, especially designed for couples who are going to marry, so that they get the right building blocks before they get married and before they fall pregnant. and within the womb. You know, we know that vitamin K2, for example, is very important for things like proper facial development. And we in the Western society, we are lacking all of that. And people, when I give my talks about all these things, people are just so hungry for that sort of information, because it's also a life changer often for them, because they had no idea. I didn't have an idea about all these things before I really went into the research myself. I was not taught that in dental school, of course, you know. Yeah. So I had to look for this sort of information myself. But yeah, so the feedback for this product is just excellent, just excellent.
Oh, that's cool. Well, we're quickly running out of time over here, but before we go, I want you to have an opportunity to tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, Dirk. You offer consultations through Dental Decoded, and you do different things like that. So maybe you could tell people a little bit more about that right now, and how they can get a hold of you if they're interested.
Yeah, thank you, Phoenix. So the tooth terrain, toothterrain.com. That's where you can order the tooth terrain. Oops. Are you still there, Phoenix? Oh, yeah, there you go. Thank you. Thank you. That's tooth terrain. And then I've got my own online business, which is Dental Decoded. I touched on that. So it's for people who are, you know, like I get many people who feel the need to discuss their own dental issues away from their normal dentist in a kind of relaxed way, where they can, I'm a bit like a dental confidant, where they can share their experiences, where they can share sometimes people are traumatized, some people just want to know, what should I do? You know, for example, I've got this quote from a dentist, and he wants to take out all these fillings, wants to place some root canals and implants, but I'm not really comfortable with that sort of solution. So are there alternatives? And we can discuss all these things, and people come out of this session often like a relief that they find either confirmation of what their dentist is doing, or that there are other ways to go about it that might be even more aligning with their own philosophy and with their hip pocket as well. And I've got videos and interviews on my website, and I put up more and more videos that I produce about dental health and subjects in particular. So please visit me on dentaldecoded.com, and if you want a consultation, you can go through the procedure on the website, and I will get back to you. If you have x-rays at hand, that would be very helpful.
Too cool, too cool. Well, do you have any final thoughts for anybody listening, Dirk?
No, again, Phoenix, it was wonderful again talking to you, and I'm so thrilled that we had this conversation, and hopefully we can find another product one day, maybe a toothpaste or something that we can work together on. And yeah, that was great. And I can see, just if I look at myself, it's getting dark around here in England, and
yeah,
I should switch on some lights now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's time for you to go get ready for the evening. All right.
Exactly.
Well, Dirk, thank you so much. All my love, as always, to you and Laura. You guys are just so wonderful to work with. All my many blessings to you, and to everybody who is listening out there. Many blessings to you as well. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, if you want to have Dirk back on to talk more about dental questions, feel free to leave questions that you might have in the comment section below. We would love to have him on the show. Again, he is just a wealth of information. If you visit his I should say when you visit his website, dentaldecoded.com, you can take a look just by watching some of his videos, just how much is locked up in that noggin of his. So at any rate, again, thank you guys so much for listening. If you have any suggestions, comments, concerns, points of contention, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.